All right, so how to screw up DevOps with a great team in 30 minutes or less. Ready? Let's go. All right, I like a good shit show, and I like unshitting it. It took me about 10 years of my career to figure out that's what I do. I go looking for trouble. It's kind of like Munchkin, kicking the door, right? And then I like to fix it. Okay, so it took me a while because I'd show up in these places, they'd be all broken and be like, oh man, why is this happening to me? And then I realized, no, it's not happening to me. I'm doing it to myself. All right, so I like looking for trouble. I like pushing myself. I want to be stretched. I've actively developed. So I've actually been a developer. I've been a DBA. I've opsed, and I've DevOpsed, all for each 2 years or longer. I value the Agile Manifesto. I do not value the religion. You want to talk to me about Scrum? I'm going to yawn at you. You want to talk to me about I value this over that? I'm interested. I favor action over analysis. That gets me into trouble sometimes. And I prize learning over all other skills when I hire people. You know why? Shit's changing too fast, man. I don't care what you know. I care how you came to know it. All right? So when all y'all nodding your head going, yeah, those are the people I like working with too because they figure shit out, right? Okay, so I want you to remember this through this entire, I screwed the pooch. I had a team full of these people. All right. So, setting the stage, walking into the problem, I'm going to give you a quick rundown. Oh, I should also say Carl was on my team. So you can check the veracity of anything that I'm saying through Carl because he can't lie. He's just not wired that way. Had several senior engineers leave. One of them's in the room and I'm giving him a dirty look right now. The previous director as well, he was very well respected, but he was fired, which is puzzling actually. There was no network competency on the team, not before we got there and not after we got there. That's going to be a factor. They'd been without a CTO for approximately 2 years, and the new CTO had started approximately 5 months before I got there. He hired me. The fool. I had two amazing colleagues, guys named Chris Edwards and Yasser Farah. These guys talk around town occasionally. If you have a chance to see them speak, Chris talks about architecture in ways that will make you weep. It is so awesome. And Yasser Farah is one of the best agile thinkers I've ever met, even though Yasser and I nearly came to blows several times on priorities and things like that. I cannot stress enough what an amazing man he is and how amazingly he thinks about the agile process. And one of the big things is we're going to the cloud. The cloud. All right. Where's Tay? I blame everything on you. Darn Amazon and all your promises. No, not really. Okay, it was our fault. Oh, hey. Well, that was. Yeah, so I believe that was, they call that instant karma, right? So here's what I learned after a month. The existing team, not the guys I had hired in to fill we were grossly underpaid, and in some cases they were looking to leave. We had end-of-life versions of Linux, OpenVZ, OpenStack, and Windows running much of our core infrastructure. And if that sounds like a lot, I want you to keep in mind that was in 3 racks. Yeah, that. Okay, so we had no command of our application topology from a network perspective, none, zero, zip, zilch. And the remaining team members, while not senior, were extremely talented. I knew I had good guys coming in because I'd been told by a couple of the people I knew who were there before, but I don't think they knew how good those guys were. I mean, really. So after 3 months, I had discovered most of the critical hardware was 4 years old or older. We had no history of replacing hardware on a schedule whatsoever. Systems were not designed to be replaced. So if you've worked with hardware in the past, done your racking and stacking, you know that if you don't design the systems to be easily replaced, things get difficult. The development organization, it was not set up to deal with a production crisis. So like something would go down and people couldn't do their banking. And the developers would be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to keep working on my sprint. We need a thing. But I got sprint. Really? That's your problem. That's going to be another theme. So, mistake number 1, hiring. I want to stress that I hired in 1 week 3 of the best operators in town. Yeah. Now, that's not bragging on me. That was a mistake. Why? I hired 3 badass systems engineers in 1 week. I hedged carefully with experience for hardware. Even though I knew we were going to the cloud, I picked people who had some load balancer experience, a little bit of network experience, some provisioning experience. Thanks, Carl. And because I thought, we're going to be on this hardware for a couple of years as it goes away. And I was being driven to restock the team immediately. It was one of my KPIs handed to me from the executive team. You will hire the team and you will do it fast, or you will, puppies will die. I don't know. So in hindsight, I should have waited a month between hires to gain better situational awareness. There's those words, situational awareness. So what I would have done, I would have probably hired a network engineer. I would have realized that was a critical need. I did not. And I probably would have changed one of the positions that I hired from an ops person who engineers to an engineer who ops. That archetype that I was talking about earlier. I like developers with ops fetishes, and it turns out we needed one of those more than we needed another operator. But because I hired so fast, I didn't have time to gain and see how the skills flowed in, and I missed that. And that cost us. When you walk into a situation where you have multiple openings, don't rush to fill them. Fill one, let the new guy tell you, hey dude, you have these problems. Because I am telling you, he or she has a better view of the world than you do. Listen. Mistake number 2, monitoring and alerting. The signal to noise ratio was amazing. We were getting dozens of alerts a week, but rarely actioning on them. In fact, were we actioning on them at all?
Dozens of alerts per hour or minute.
Okay. We were driven to work with development teams on new features and releases. That was all the feedback we were getting. You're not going fast enough. Hey, we're waiting on you for a thing. Hey, give me a cookie. I mean, geez. So those teams were not set up to work with us on dealing with alerts either, as I said before. And the email rules quickly allowed the new staff to tell me, hey, Boyd, we're getting way too much noise, and then ignore it. So we never fixed that problem. So I don't know what's going on. We lost control of our secondary data center. Just went offline because our ASAs went, and Michael's little boy's gone, good, took a dump. Ugh. All right, that was bad. So lost an entire data center. Well, 3 racks, right? Because that's our entire data center. Because 1, we weren't getting the alerts we needed, and 2, we wouldn't have been paying attention anyway. Shame on us. Did I mention that? Shame on me? Shame on me. In hindsight, I know better. Every alert, we should have done one of 2 things. We should have actioned on it, or we should have tamped it down. It's not that important. It shouldn't be in our inbox. The other thing I should have done was gotten those alerts out of email and into something. Victor Ops, Ops Genie, what's that other one? PagerDuty. So when you get alerts, do something with them. Straight up. If you're a manager and your people aren't doing something with the alerts, that's your fault. Fix it. This is the voice of God. Fix the alerting thing now. We never did this on my watch, and as the director of infrastructure services, again, I cannot stress enough, that is my failure. If you're the director of anything that is your failure, don't do it. It's the primary reason that I failed. I should have fought harder to address these concerns from day one. I should have said no to features and yes to monitoring and just let it burn. Let the feature thing burn. Mistake number 3, the cloud fixes everything, right? We're going to the cloud. Woohoo! Horizontal scaling for everyone. Wait a minute, sorry. Oh. Aha, I know what happens if I push 2 buttons at once by accident. All right. I have to read this in case you can. Saying dead is so uncool, we now refer to it as being uploaded to the cloud. Thanks to the Agent X cartoon, they does a great job. All right, don't fix the old thing, move it to the cloud. Hey, let's not invest there, Boyd. We'll be in the cloud soon enough. Oh, that would so much be easier done in the cloud. We never had a complete command of our environments for the systems that were printing the money for us. The business was making plenty of money, and we weren't protecting that. We were letting it rot so we could do all the new pretty things in the cloud. Ooh, greenfield. You know what you find in a greenfield if you wait too long? Brown stuff. Don't step in that. In hindsight, with 3 virtualization platforms, we should have consolidated first. Trying to move your OpenVZ, your OpenStack, both end of life, and your VMware out of the cloud is a bad idea. Instead, we should have consolidated to VMware. And I should have gotten a network engineer to do that. Not using the offered support. This is going to blow your mind. You ready? I had access to all the money I could ask for. I had my own personal daddy Warbucks. His name was Marty. He'd give me any $100,000 I asked for. But with great power comes great responsibility, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't feel comfortable doing so because we didn't know our environment and I couldn't see the work. I couldn't oversee the work. In other words, because I didn't have a network engineer on staff, I wasn't willing to outsource the network engineer because I didn't know how to manage them. That was dumb. If you don't have an expert, go get an expert. You'll figure out how to manage them. So I had access to plenty of money for hardware upgrades. So we upgraded the SAN. We had 3 network vendors. Remember, we also actually had 4 network vendors. Extreme, Cisco, Viata, and Dell in 4 racks. 3 racks, excuse me. So one of the things we want to do is, kind of make that all one thing because, network is already esoteria. Multiple vendor networks is like esoteria upon esoteria and some combinatory hell. So don't do that. So we also undertook a project to consolidate. We knew we were doing the right thing. We didn't have a network engineer. Did I mention that? We had no clue how long that was going to take. I was there 15, 16 months, and we still didn't get finished. In 3 racks. Yikes. Yeah. You know how we got finished? I hired a network engineer. Turns out. All right. So don't just hear the network engineering. Please also hear I didn't have an expert in something that I didn't know about. I was uncomfortable getting an external expert because I didn't know how to manage them. Therefore, I didn't. Y'all hear the stupid in that? Okay, good. Don't do that. In hindsight, I should have hired that network engineer, and I should not have attempted to make a capital expenditure on new network gear all at once. I bought switches, routers, which we don't need. They're still sitting in their boxes, aren't they? And firewalls. Oops. Yeah, so there's $50,000 of MX40s just sitting around somewhere. If you need MX40s, let Carl know. I bet you can get them for a song. One of them's still in an unopened box. No, we opened one, remember? Okay. Oops. So again, I didn't have good situational awareness because I didn't have the expert I needed. I should have recognized that. Situational awareness is everything, especially if you favor action over analysis. So mistake number 5, I went native. What does this mean? So I adopted the current methods. I was specifically brought in because I was Boyd fucking Hemphill and I make change happen. That's what I was told to my face. Those are the words from the president of the company and the CTO of the company. But instead, I allowed institutional and cultural inertia to win me over. Oh man, we don't do urgent around here. I mistook a great corporate culture for a viable operational culture. The culture where I worked is amazing. And when I say is in present tense, it is amazing. They have operationalized a great corporate culture. But you have these 2 things that are in tension. You have being a badass, and you have this notion of love. You love your fellow employees. I favored, because I don't do love very well, I overcompensated. And instead of taking somebody and saying, look, Mike, your last name starts with an F and you're kind of effing up. Could you fix that? I was like, wow, Mike, it would be so cool if you just do this a little bit better, man. Yeah, hippie and granola doesn't get the job done. I mistook a great corporate culture, all right? Don't make that mistake. I mistook the lack of urgency on the part of my peers for no need to be urgent. Okay, if nobody else believes the house is burning down, even though we have money walking out the door, then apparently it's not urgent. And again, thanks to Nick Galifianakis for the great Sisyphus reference. In hindsight, I should have demanded more help from my peers on systems issues. What I did not recognize was that the development teams had become so insular that their entire success was built on, did I do a feature? Did I do a feature? Did I do a feature? And when I would ask questions like, how's that feature going to make the company money? Dude, don't harsh my mellow. This would be in the form of deadline relief and systems upgrades. For instance, to do the OpenVZ to OpenStack migration, we needed developer help. But we couldn't get developer help, even though they're supposed to dedicate 20% to this sort of thing, because features. Nobody was measuring that 20%. And what happens to something you don't measure? You don't do it, right? So there's a great quote. Tell me how you measure me, and I'll tell you how I behave. We weren't measuring the developers on the 20% systems time. Therefore, they weren't doing it. I'll give you one example. We had a system going down multiple times per week, and I knew it was wrong from my DBA days. I knew it was wrong. I had explained the problem for over 6 months. You can't make this shit up, people. It was 14 characters. In Postgres, you can apply a function to the left-hand side of an expression, and it will still value the index. In MySQL, you can't do that. So we were doing full table scans on something that was being looked up multiple times per second. Guess what happened? We'd crash. So when they finally fixed that, we were bored. We weren't getting outages anymore. We didn't know what to do with ourselves. Oh yeah, we got work to do. We should do that. Corporate culture accounted for this, but it was too gentle. But again, I was too gentle with my peers. I should have been using my 5-star leadership, another one of those values, to say, yo, dude, you got to do this right now. But I got so much pushback that I kind of switched over to that thing that I don't do well, love. And I loved them and said, yo, man, if you loved me, you would do this. And it didn't work out so well.
It wasn't possible for you to just go in and fix it yourself?
No. And the other problem is this. We did a lot of that. And what we found is that didn't fix the problem, because the problem wasn't that the work got done. It was that they weren't taking responsibility for the outcome. Therefore, we were doing a lot of the things that should have been spread across the organization. I'll give you an example that I didn't mention here. It took me about 9 months before I realized I was the acting CISO. Yeah? Tell you want to know what kind of job I was doing? So one day it just hit me. Nobody knows a damn thing here about security. And shit, neither do I, but they all look to me when security comes up. I should do something about that. Really? Okay? So.
But you bought the firewalls.
Carl, would you tell Debbie how that went later?
Hey, Debbie. One.
So ultimately, the reason that I failed is this. Okay, all those things I own, right? All those things are under my control, and I could have made better decisions. I need to make that really clear. This one I own too, but it's going to sound like an excuse. Let me get to the end and make sure that you understand my ownership in this problem before you let me off the hook. Because if you don't, you're going to look at this as, oh, I could just go make this excuse and everything will be fluffy bunnies and rainbows. We're supporting all this old infrastructure and systems. We're supporting custom software on that stuff. Each of the 4 existing development teams had one or more projects that was not set up to plan or anticipate its infrastructure needs. They'd come to us and say, I need 7 servers. Okay, how should they be configured? I don't know. Okay, when do you need them? Yesterday. No, really, when do you need them? Well, we really needed them a week ago, but we thought we'd give you some extra time. You told us about this? Yeah, there's a ticket. Yeah, I mean, these are real conversations. Kind of summarized, but real conversations. A new 5th team was coming online in AWS natively, and nobody else in the entire company had AWS experience except the 3 new guys and me on my team. No developer in the entire organization had ever used AWS before. But woohoo, Redshift. Oh, and nobody had to use a columnar database either, because those are easy, right? So, This is where I am. We have all this work to do. If you've read the Phoenix Project, we have business projects. Those are the things that we're like, okay? We have outages, unplanned work constantly. We have IT projects that we need to get done, monitoring and supporting the old infrastructure. And of course, we have changes coming every day, whether they're releases or patches or poodles or heartbleeds or whatever.
Back on the last slide.
Yeah.
How did you stopped in the middle of, okay, you submitted the ticket, yeah, last week.
Yeah.
They actually had submitted a ticket, but there were so many it gets lost in the flood, or
There you go.
weren't able to prioritize, or they set it too low and it should have been higher, or what?
Yeah, put it in minimum priority ticket with no due date.
Right.
No way.
The organization did not understand the value of the ops work, nor did it understand the difficulty. The team before that was a team of magicians who just got shit done. Really. And we couldn't do that because we didn't have 7 years each of context. In hindsight, the bottleneck was the technology organization's ability to learn, not the ability to produce. And when I say the technology organization, I mean the entire technology organization, not just my ops team. Okay? Because Redshift, somebody's got to learn that, right? Now, I want you to think about not the corporate culture, but the technology culture that I talked about. Oh, there's something to learn? Oh, the ops guys learn that, and then they tell us what to do. That was a sickness. So there was often times when they'd come down and say, what should I do about this Redshift thing? And I'm like, I don't effing know. Well, I thought you knew AWS. AWS is over 90 services, for God's sake. What does that even mean? Right? So I actually took 2 of the architects over to Civitas downtown. They use the crap out of Redshift, let me tell you. I mean, we're talking petabytes of data. Yeah. And I had them sit down, and the guys from Civitas spent, 2-3 hours talking about how they're running it, what they use it for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that was the way I tried to solve that problem to help them out. But they didn't follow up. They didn't nurture and build that relationship. They just went, okay, well, now we know what we know, and we're going to go do the thing that we do. What's really ironic is we had immense SQL Server chops in the shop. We still do. And yet, and SQL Server, if you know, has SSIS, which is an amazing tool for doing data warehousing. We tapped out at roughly 12 terabytes. That was our maximum. 12 terabytes is a drop in the bucket for SQL Server. Exactly. So why Redshift? Well, we could have run SQL Server in the cloud too, even in RDS, right? So you got to wonder, right? Oh, geez. Yeah, it's not cool. That's exactly it. Yeah, it's not going to look good on my resume because I'm not buzzword compliant. All right, my team, we were seen as the guys who figure out all the things because I can't do a talk without saying all the things. So, and I should have been relentless with the product owners about scheduling the ops work. So as the director, I should have been on every one of those 5 people going, yo, man, where's the ops work in this? Where's the ops work in this? Where's the ops work in this? But I kept getting this. You can only look at that so much before you either want to kill somebody or you give up. So I chose give up. Bad choice. I should have killed somebody. I should have been using my weekly one-on-one with the CTO to demonstrate the vast amounts of work and unknowns that were going into this. In fact, in our annual planning last December, I did exactly that. I forced a capacity planning exercise. And my team came out at 238% of capacity. Now, if you know anything about throughput, you take the capacity and you divide by that minus 100 and you get your lead time, right? So if you have 50-50, it sounds like you're a slacker, but basically you take 50, you divide it by 50, you get 1. Call that 1 hour. So a lead time is 1 hour. Okay, so somebody who is 50% utilized and 50% idle is going to be able to get you shit in a hurry. This is good. Somebody who is 90% utilized, oh yeah, that's a really good employee, right? Okay, take 90, divide that by 100 minus 90, 10, and you get 10. It's going to take you 10 hours of lead time. I'm sorry, 9, right? Yeah, 9, sorry. It's going to take 9 hours of lead time. If they're 99% utilized, it's going to take 99 hours to get it. And if they're 100% utilized, calculus gets you to infinity pretty fast, right? Okay, so we're going to be 238% utilized. I don't know what's bigger than infinity, maybe like all F2 or something, but for all you math nerds. But that's where we are. All right. Now, if you think that's ridiculous, Every other team, the development teams, was at 150% or more in this capacity planning exercise. So you know what they did? They cut out all the corporate goals except the ones that were actually that. So my capacity number went down to 212 degrees. So I just said, shrug, okay, I'm going to be the frog in the boiling water because, you know, I like irony. So the thing I want you to know, I went and dug this up from my teaching days. This is really how learning happens. So when the bottleneck is learning, whether it's learning the environment, learning the new technology, the only way that you get good is not by reading about it or audiovisual. If you want mastery, you've got to practice and you've got to teach others. You've got to do it. That's it. That's really it. That's what the research says. Maslow and all those education-y guys and gals, that's what's happening there. All right, a summary, situational awareness. If you didn't get to read the whole thing, you got to prepare if you're going to do that. So if you don't know, you have no hope. Of all the outages, stress, failure during my 16-month tenure at Kasasa, 80% of it all would have been mitigated with better information. I should have forced a capacity planning exercise in my first month when we were doing annual planning, but I didn't know better because I was still getting my feet under me. And at that time, I was already going native because everyone was so nice. And I wanted to be nice for once in my life. That was a mistake. Monitoring and alerting should have been an immediate priority, not hiring. I should have known what was going on. It would have told me who and what to hire better. So again, even though I went and hired amazing engineers who really did do amazing things, I still maintain that I messed up on the hiring. Hiring should have been informed by the results of better monitoring. And having an awesome team means nothing if you don't know what they should be working on. So somebody was asking me, how can you screw up with an awesome team? Everyone says an awesome team solves all problems. Well, if you have all the awesome in the world and they're working on the wrong thing, you're really not making awesome. You're making a mess. Providing accurate measures for work in the organization is a must. So when it's clear that the business appetite for innovation is outstripping the ability to support the current systems and the customers that they serve, I needed to say stop, and I needed to simply refuse to do the new stuff until we did certain things with the old stuff. And I did not do that. Shame on me. It can be, but it's in my nature to go, yeah, go ahead, fire me. Because it's not like I'm not going to get another job in a week. Right? So I had all the power in that relationship and I didn't use it. I did not use the power that I had for good. So I was not responsible with it. So what I want you to take away from this is, all right, I've been told I'm pretty good at this. Go figure, all right? I don't know that I believe it or not, but that's what I've been told. So I've just shown you a whole bunch of the mistakes I've made, and I'm plenty willing to share more of them with you, more details, whatever you like. I just want you to go out and fuck up in a new and novel way, okay? Just, make something new up, right? Don't make the same mistakes that I made. Make sure your monitoring is in place. Don't hire too soon. You need an expert? Get the expert, especially when you've got this pile of money being thrown at you. Don't go, whoa, man, too much money, too much support. I shouldn't be doing that, all right? So thank you for your time.